Hello friend, I am back from my festive slumber, and by that I mean I work in retail, so I essentially spend all that time getting shouted at by Susan because she bought her kids the wrong thing, and now it's my fault because she can only get store credit back, and she already bought the right damn thing somewhere else, so what's the point in credit? And you know, yeah, moving on. Last year I churned out a bunch of games I was looking forward to in the coming year. Some of them I was right to look forward to, some of them not so much. Some didn't even come out, and a few came out of nowhere and took us all by surprise. Both good and some bad. I think we can all agree that 2018 was a year in which video games were indeed released. So with that truth bomb ringing in our ears, allow me, dear listener, to go back in time and let you know what I loved and what I didn't love quite so much in 2018. Nailed it!
Ready for this? Special Wing Counter! This is the ultimate form!
Honestly, I don't think I've ever really played a great Dragon Ball game, and I've played a few. They've either been decent, and I've enjoyed them for a week or so. Usually, they haven't been. When the first look at Fighters dropped, it was the first game that everyone thought looked great, and it proved to be. It's incredible it took so long to make a solid no-gimmicks 2D-ish fighting game with Dragon Ball in mind, but it finally happened and we all loved it. Above all, the best thing about this game for someone awful at fighting games who loves the franchise, e.g. me, is the way it looks. It is literally like you're fighting in the anime, with those hand-drawn graphics that pop as soon as you see them. Casual bums like me can pick it up and have a blast, and it looks like it's found its place in the hardcore fighter scene. As far as I'm aware, it's a first for a Dragon Ball game. It makes you wonder where they go now with these games. Usually a new mediocre Dragon Ball game is churned out every couple of years, and I end up buying it anyway. So what now? The bar has been set pretty high. Dragon Ball FighterZ? Because it's got a 2 in it? You know? Oh, it's just basic Dragon Ball Fighters 2, whatever. Just none of you've got an appreciation for what I come up with.
Terrible news! The Yellow Turbans are here! They're just outside the village!
I've got a big mushy soft spot for Dynasty Warriors games. I spent a good chunk of my youth slashing through ancient China since 2, and every new entry slowly killed my interest, simply because nothing changed but the graphics. Dynasty 9 perked my interest though with what I described as big changes, an open world being the main draw. I thought maybe I'd give it a whirl, maybe this could be the shot in the arm the series needed. I mean, we're on game 9. 9! And barring graphics, 8 was basically the same as 2. Alas, turns out an open world is not a cure-all for video games. 9 is just dull. If anything, all this means is you've got to do more traipsing around looking for people to kill. Sorry, KO with a sharp sword. It might be time for Koei to let Omega Force put this series on hold for a bit. Let them spread their creative wings, per se. Try something a little different. Must be tiresome creating the same game with different skins every day. People might be more nostalgic for an all-new reboot in, say, 5 years than a Dynasty Warriors 10 in another 2.
Excuse me, surely there's been a mistake, because this game is in green, and it's come after a bad game, and you should be doing them one at a time, and you're not supposed to talk about the bad games after another bad game.
That's what you guys sound like, alright, yeah? So just shut your damn whingy piles for a minute, and I'll tell you why this game ain't as bad as you seem to say it is on Steam. Right, so let me start off by saying I get why this game garners mixed reviews from fans. It's 30 quid, the graphics don't match up to even Attila, came out years ago, it's full of reskinned units. Essentially you can boil it down to being a bunch of the bad things Total War has come to be over the years in a small package, but I really enjoyed this game and still do. Maybe it's because I'm British, so this period is really interesting to me, but more likely is that I take it for what it is. The first of the so-called Saga titles, and when you take it as a game in itself, it's pretty good. I see these Saga titles as a sort of experimental playground for Creative Assembly to really be creative, to sort of try new things and then see if they work so they can use them in the bigger releases. And that's exactly what they did with this title, and that's why I think I sort of appreciate it so much. They've added loads of unique gameplay elements. The 4 factions have these unique ideas that generally relate to public order, like keeping the Wiccan happy with the Saxons, or gaining legitimacy through ancestral lands if you're the Celtic Scots. These elements can make the gameplay really difficult. If you're the Scots, it's incredibly difficult early on to gain legitimacy, and everyone basically just kicks off if you don't win lands pretty soon. With the Welsh, you're pretty much backed up to a corner by the Mercians, and it's an incredibly difficult game to get your head around early on. Unless, of course, you're Wessex, then you just steamroll everybody anyway. The battles give you that excited twinge you get from the best GW games. You lock your spearmen into a shield wall, and the overworld adds a ton of new features which make it distinct from Attila. I really like the food system and the idea of provinces with one fort and a bunch of settlements you can just take to starve the enemy out or take away all their trade. It means you can tackle this game in a completely different way than just smashing into walls. I appreciate CA trying new things to keep it fresh, and while I am and was much more excited for Three Kingdoms, this still scratched my itch enough for 2018 and made that delay not quite so bad. You know you have games you played years ago that you know will be a nailed-on success if they, the video game wizards, were to make it nowadays with graphics and stuff, and you spend hours telling your mates at the pub they're missing a trick and you should be CEO of all the video games. Well, mine was Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. So when they announced that successor in 2017, I thought,
"You crazy son of a bitch, you did."
It came out last summer, I got super excited, played a couple of hours and refunded it. Good God, it was dull. I made a video about it, I was so upset, and if you watch that video, you'll see I booted up Operation Genesis as a personal FU. Well, turns out games age, and not only did the release of Evolution destroy one of my nailed-on they should totally make that ideas, but it also crushed some nostalgia. Turns out Genesis doesn't hold up quite as well these days either. Maybe Dino Park Sims in general don't. I'm still upset because I don't see another crack at it happening for at least another 10-15 years, and I still think it's a good idea. I still feel I might go back to Evolution maybe in a few months to see if the updates have broken the monotony of building a fence, then plonking a dinosaur in it, but until the dinosaur can crush my stupid Jeep or jump up and snag my chopper, what's the damn point? Death time. What's that? I wasn't actually on the hype train for Spider-Man. I wasn't against it, I just didn't care that much. I'm not mad into superheroes or Marvel or anything like that, and I was just getting bored of Sony flogging it to death for 2 or 3 years. I mean, we've had plenty of Spider-Man games, and none of them seem to get this crazy level of hype people giving it. It just seemed like Sony working their magic again and everyone getting crazy excited for it. Nobody got mad excited for the trailer of Amazing Spider-Man or Web of Shadows or anything like that. And Insomniac making it, fine, I guess, that's great. Insomniac have never really put a foot wrong per se, but you know, I don't really get what the big deal was. Needless, I was obviously going to give it a crack, and it was everything they said it would be. That's so rare in a video game. It's so nice to say that a studio and publisher said a game will be all these great things, and it just was. It didn't need updates or anything like that to fix it or add any game modes to it. It was just a great game out of the box, job done. Great story, great graphics, great animations, and above all, nailed on fun gameplay that, at the risk of sounding like every other knobhead, really makes you feel like Spider-Man. Side note, I actually cared and went out of my way to find collectibles. That has never happened before. I don't normally care about completionism and all the rest of it. I don't know what came over me, but I did. I love getting backpacks. Did I also mention you feel like Spider-Man?
I want your too hasty.
Whoa. Let me explain. I promise it's not just the controversial pick designed to gain views, okay? Bit of background. Never really liked GTA, didn't mind 5, probably the only one I ever really played a bit of. More to the point, I've never really liked Rockstar's engine they use or the games they make. You know, the whole dots on the minimap, little right crosser, everything auto-aims, your guy runs like a jelly full of weights and turns like a sack of spuds being span around in a circle. I actually quite liked Red Dead. Just something about the cowboy world interested me more than a generic city. So when they announced 2, I was like, yeah, cool, I can dig it. I got a little bit on the hype train, I mentioned it as my most anticipated game last year because it was a huge blockbuster and everybody was going mad for it. But my god, everybody went berserk. The closer this thing came to being released, everyone was going absolutely insane for it. This is going to be the greatest thing since the last great thing, you know, which is probably a Rockstar game, based on most people's views. Non-stop pummeling of hype. So I duly obliged, got on the train, waited a lifetime for it to install because they decided to spend a gig on making the horse's bollocks shrink in the cold for some reason, and I finally spent my time in this sacred land, and it was alright. And that's the thing, I'm not saying Red Dead was a bad game at all. It was a disappointment to me, and a good chunk of that is not the game's fault, it's everyone else's for making the world think this was going to be the best game ever made. I liked some missions, I even quite liked the long stupid riding with tons of dialogue early on, but after about chapter 2 it just dragged. Like, just give me a fast track system that actually works. It's a game that tries to be cinematic and real, but has ridiculous things that take you totally out of it, like demolishing 30 men without a scratch being put on you because you ate some biscuits. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't know what it wants to be. If I wanted a purely cinematic experience, I'd just watch a film. If I wanted something fun to play, I'd do just that. Don't even get me started on online. Okay, that sounded like I fully hated this game, but I didn't, man. It's just, like, not as good as everyone thinks it is. Like most people who are staring down the barrel of their 30s, COD is a source of nostalgia. Once we were the teenage dicks shouting profanity at strangers, except we did it on a little map called Shipment. But alas, the years go on, we get older and games change. Or stay exactly the same, I guess. The point is COD died to most of us Modern Warfare kids many years ago. And a new breed of toxic 12-year-olds took the mantle. So when I got told that Black Ops 4 was actually pretty good, and better yet, the best thing about it was Battle Royale, I did a metaphorical flip. All the boys were playing it and I was like, I'm one of the boys, so I gotta play. Play it I did, and now I can't stop. Multiplayer is all good, the specialists spice things up enough to make it interesting and the maps are solid, but Blackout is where it's at. I've lost track of how many times I've dropped into that map in the quads, duos or all alone, and while I never thought I'd get into Battle Royales, I am well into Blackout. It's just the best Battle Royale there is, and they've updated it and tweaked it so much that it feels fresh every time. I haven't been more excited to hear of a new update to a game since Titanfall 2. Admittedly only a couple of years ago, but shush. Point is, it's great, and if you're a doubter like I was, give it a crack with friends. I think you'll like it.
And the award for the most obvious choice goes to...
Look, I don't want to hate on 76 tons. I already made a video of my thoughts, so check that out if you want to know, but let's just say this. It's kind of like an anti-Red Dead. I should despise it, and I don't. I actually had some fun playing this with Sam for a week or so, but once again, it's more that... Whereas with Red Dead I went in with hype being pumped into my ears, it was the opposite with 76. I love Fallout, and I was just happy to be receiving any Fallout game, but most people had made up their minds before it even come out. Turns out they were kind of right. They announced it out of the blue, similar to 4, and if you asked me last year when I thought the next Fallout would be released, I'd have probably said 5 years from now. Any Fallout would be good Fallout, I thought, and that's kind of the real shame, because now they're going to spend as much time as they can trying to make this work. I just know they are. We won't receive a new traditional Fallout game for years. I'm happy for the games to evolve and change, but playing with no human NPCs and nothing but endless holotapes, notes and recurring quests everywhere saps a huge amount of the atmosphere from a game built on atmosphere. It's also a broken mess, obviously. Pokemon is my jam, has been since I was 9. Something about it, something simple that just makes me so happy. However, I hadn't played a game since, well, really since Gold and Silver. I had a little crack at Sun and Moon, but not really much, you know, a couple of days, something like that. Some was alright, but once you've played one, you've played them all, right? Well, not anymore. When they announced Let's Go, I wasn't too fussed, it just looked like a tie-in to Go, and that was all fine. If you're a fan of the original Pokemon, you expect the constant barrage of middling games, and are quite happy to crack on loving the franchise, buying the t-shirts and ignoring any Pokemon but the original 150. After a couple of weeks, I picked up Let's Go Pikachu because why not? Let's see how things are on the Switch. It's fantastic. It blends nostalgia for us oldies and new mechanics so well. It basically takes all the old stupid mechanics like grinding out of the equation. All of your party level up now as you catch Pokemon. You don't have to battle every single one. You can see the Pokemon that you're about to battle, so you don't have to just keep constantly getting attacked by Zubats inside a mine all the time. Whenever a plot point requires you to travel back to somewhere, it basically just says, do you want to travel back to that place? Hit yes and you're there. It's brilliant. It's so simple, but it's so brilliant. While things are different enough to make it easier and much more accessible to everybody, it's similar enough to get that tingle when you walk into Pokemon Tower and hear that revamped music. It forges the path for the future of this series while completely respecting the past, and that's why it succeeds. I loved my return to Kanto, and for the first time in years I'm excited about what the future holds for Pokemon. I probably even enjoyed it more than I did my first time round, and that's kind of blasphemous of me to say. So hats off, Game Freak, you nailed it.
The rune! Did you see it?
Yes!
Are you certain?
I got it! Trust me!
Good then. Aim for the face.
Bonus goodie! That's right, I'm not a balanced cynic, see? One more good game than bad. God of War is a series I never cared about, and that's why this game was such a breath of fresh air. In a year of revamped golden oldies, God of War was the king of them all. The best PS4 exclusive in my opinion, barring my beloved Bloodborne. Fantastic combat, great visual and animations, awesome side quests and puzzles, and one of the best narratives around. The soundtrack was exquisite, the world building was absolutely incredible. I run out of hyperbole to give this game. It's something that shouldn't have worked. Take an old Greek hack and slash, whack it in Norse mythology, and make it slow with more focus on puzzles, story and environment. But boy did it work. It was a risk absolutely worth taking, and it's already down as an absolute classic in so many eyes. Boy!